Uh, my name is my name is Davis. Uh, Originally, I'm from Eastern Europe, a small country called Latvia. Uh, I went to the University of Latvia to study history. Got a degree as well. But currently, I am an actor and a model by profession, although I did teach history for a little bit, just not in the US. When it comes to my phobias, guessing the biggest one and the one that's been most prevalent is my social anxiety, so social phobia. I first noticed it, I noticed that there's a difference between me and others in the way that, for example, they relate to people and the way that I do. I noticed it around age 12 or 13, so I guess middle school. I just noticed that, not everyone speaks to others the same way. Not everyone is, say, overthinking what they're going to say, and not everyone is, not everyone is reacting to social situations the way that I am. When I did first notice it, I didn't exactly understand it. As a teenager, I was really all over the place. Yes, there was social anxiety, and interactions with people often would be either awkward or just non-existent. But of course, I also I crave attention, which really goes back to what I do for a living. So it's acting and it's modeling. So, that craving attention and also having social anxiety is a bit complicated. Maybe it even makes me a complicated person. But of course, no person is simple. But in my case, for the longest time, especially as a teenager, I had problems dealing with it. It's sort of like almost being yanked back and forth by your own mind. It's like you want attention. We have problems talking to people. But you still want to do it. But also you don't want to do it. It created a lot of problems for me. I'd say just talking to people would be an issue. Talking to them normally. I'd say maybe a couple of years ago is when I started really dealing with it, trying to do something about it, trying to know more about myself. Going to therapy, of course, was very important in that case. But before that, I'd say I didn't even know that it exactly was a problem. I just thought I was weird, I was odd. A lot of people, of course, think that too, but as a teenager, it is kind of a thing to be odd, to be weird, to stand out. And well, if everyone stands out, no one really stands out. But I still felt like I did because the social anxiety and also craving attention at the same time, just wanting to be in the center of it, created this sort of weird mix of behaviors that I just had around people. I'd say I started, like I mentioned before, I started dealing with it when I was in my 20s. So not that long ago, a couple of years ago. I'm 29 currently. And yes, going to therapy is what was probably the biggest help. However, I of course also I lived through the pandemic in NYC, and I'd say that the pandemic itself actually maybe helped a little, especially in the beginning, because we had to start wearing masks. We had to socially distance from other people. We almost had to isolate ourselves from the outside world. That actually made me feel more calm. I was almost content with the way that things were, especially in the height of the pandemic, when a lot of businesses were closed down, and just, I mean, there weren't that many people around. I could just really go anywhere and not do anything, but it felt safer for me. And it was actually almost a bit upsetting to live after that, when all the restrictions were, well, not all of them, but most of them were being lifted, and there were more people around outside. There was something unfortunate that happened to me slightly after the pandemic. So roughly, I'd say 2 years ago, I was, I wouldn't say robbed, but I went to a Dollar Tree near where I live, and I was robbed at knife point. The robber didn't really take anything because I didn't have anything on me, besides like some petty cash, an old phone. Well, the robber really took the petty cash, but that really, what happened there, as I found out later, gave me PTSD, and that, in combination with my social anxiety, just made things significantly worse. I'd say I was terrified of other people. If I felt anxious around them before, this was just straight up fear. And if you have social anxiety and you also have PTSD, that is a terrible combination. It makes existence in public almost unbearable. I wouldn't say that I necessarily got over it. I don't think people can get over social anxiety, especially if it's just prevalent in their lives. But what really helped me deal with it, and to an extent deal with the PTSD, was acting. Modeling, not so much, of course. Acting, because I don't have to be myself. I get to be someone else, and I get to express feelings that I don't have. It is almost like distracting yourself by not being yourself, but being someone else, and by displaying just whatever emotion the director wants you to. But I would say, when it comes to, say, drawbacks with social anxiety, especially the kind that I have, it has definitely hindered me from possible career opportunities. Many times I just wouldn't go to a place, to an interview, just because the job itself involved talking to other people, interacting with them. It wasn't always an issue, because I could sometimes do a job like that, but I'd say more often than not, the social anxiety did prevent me from just going to a simple job interview or even applying. And getting friends is, of course, also more difficult, just because of the way that the social anxieties, it almost it hinders a person from interacting with others they think would be a good friend. So say I'm somewhere in an audition, for example, and I see a person, I notice a person that I think has something in common with me. And potentially they could be a friend, even if short term, because of just the way that I see things, because of the social anxiety, instead of interaction, instead of just developing contact, there'd be nothing. No communication, absolutely nothing, just dead silence. And it's very similar with romantic relationships. It's just there's no interaction, no contact. It's not 100% like that. But I'd say if I didn't have the social anxiety, my life would be significantly different. I would probably have more friends, probably more romantic partners, possibly at the same time. But just because of, not just because of it, but largely I'd say because of the social anxiety, it just stops me from interacting with people. I've learned to sort of deal with a lot of it. I've tried to interact with others more. And in the recent years, it has definitely somewhat changed. It's not always like that when I don't talk to people. It's not always like there's silence. I'd say largely it is because of, again, going to a therapist, talking about the issues that I have, and just trying to figure out what's the solution, or what small steps can I take to seem more approachable and just more sociable. And as I mentioned before, I don't think I will ever really get over it. With PTSD, perhaps, but with social anxiety, I believe it will stay with me my whole life. But I do think that there are many ways to just live with it, to maybe just find approaches that help interacting with others. A big thing for me was, for example, trying to not to see the negative just everywhere, and especially in other people, trying to see a positive, trying to make an interaction about something that someone else likes, instead of, say, insulting their needs, their interests, their character. Instead, I listen, give positive feedback. And in those cases, I wouldn't say I have established that many more friendships, but I would say that I definitely seem less unapproachable to people that I talk to, especially if it's just a stranger that I met recently for whatever reason, whether it's work or just bumping into someone, say, on public transportation. If I had to give advice to people who are also dealing with social anxiety, or social anxiety and PTSD, or maybe even CPTSD, then it will be go to a therapist. Talk to them. Talk about yourself. Because that alone, just having an interaction with someone is a big leap. And that alone, even if you, a person that goes to a therapist, even if they don't do it for too long, even then just talking to someone about something that is a problem is a big step, and it helps. It helps just it helps generally when you just go out in the real world and interact with others. It feels less stagnating, and it just feels better.